Hi, Marion here. You can call me Maz. I would like to talk to you about what it's like to have a psychic reading with me so you can know what to expect. Being psychic is really quite a gift, and it's something that I actually find quite hard to put into words because I'm so used to it. And people often say to me, "Don't you realise what you can do?" And I actually don't, because it is really so normal for me. I do have a bit of a format that I follow, whether I'm doing a phone reading or a physical reading, face-to-face reading. I even do email readings. I don't need to be with you to do a reading. I read the energy around you. We are all connected by energy. I have this amazing ability to almost. If I tune into you, it's like I daydream. It's like I'm seeing your life, past, present, and future, and it's like I watch it up here. It's really quite bizarre, and I can see significant people in your life, and quite often by tuning into you, sometimes I'm surprised, and I get I get people that have passed over come through. Now that's never a guarantee, but it happens quite a lot. And in my book Caught Between Two Worlds, the stories that I write about in there, when somebody does come through in a psychic reading, well, they come through and I can see them and I get their names. So it's a true connection that way. Something I don't do in readings is I don't make up. I don't tell people what they want to hear, and I don't bullshit to people. I don't need to. I've done over 5,000 plus readings psychically and spiritually. It's up to spirit whether they want to come through and talk to me and give you a message. Spirituality is a huge concept, above the clouds. Where there's so many different lifetimes, and whether living or alive, there's a whole lot of stuff going on that people aren't privy to, and it's not that your loved ones are sitting around in a lounge room up there waiting for their numbers to be called or waiting for you to go to a psychic so that they can come through. It's not like that at all. However, when it does come through in a reading, it is absolutely extraordinary, and I'll give you an example of that in a minute. But basically, when I'm sitting with somebody, I do ask people to, your life is your priority. And I say to people, just like going to the supermarket, if you're driving down the road and you see a supermarket, oh, I need some milk, you rush in and you go, oh yeah, you go in there and you come out with chips and chocolate and you forget the milk. But if you'd had a piece of paper that said milk and chips and chocolate, you would have come out with all three of those. And then what I say for you, when you come for a reading, life, it goes really fast. Readings go really, really fast. So it's really good for you to have your questions because it is your priority in life. I'm happy to just, sit and wander the aisles of your supermarket mind or your supermarket life and give you whatever I get. But, I guarantee you probably don't want Brussels sprouts or pickled onions, and because, that's symbolically speaking. But when I'm sitting with you, I may ask to hold something of you. I may ask you to bring photographs of somebody that you might like to read that's in your reading. The reason I do that, the reason I ask for photographs is because I see so many people, in your video or in your movie, as I'm reading you, that connecting me through the photograph means, yes, I'm reading that person. I'm not reading that person. I'm looking at that person, but I'm reading that person. It helps me stay on track as to who I'm actually reading in that photograph. And that's kind of why I do it. The other reason I kind of do it too is because that if I'm seeing somebody in spirit, which, like I said, it doesn't happen all the time, but when I do see it, then that photograph actually is a confirmation for me to know that what I'm doing is accurate, and it's really good positive feedback for me. I don't really talk to you about that part of it, but it's just a confirmation for me as well. I'm able to describe, if you talk to me about people in your life or your children, and even if you just talk to me, yes, well, I've got my son this or my daughter that, well, I can give you the information. I can describe those people, those children to you to a T. I can describe their issues. I look at everything from career to finances to relationships to education to employment. Soul lessons. I work on a soul level, so I like to talk to people about their lessons in life, because if you got a bit of an insight or was given a bit of a shortcut to help you learn your lessons, you'd take it, wouldn't you? I would. So I look at all those things as well. It's really good if you're looking at decisions in your life. Psychic information for me is instant. It's basically it's best that you ask questions that require a yes or no answer. So if you ask me a question, then the information just comes out. and if you're sitting with me face to face, you'll often see me looking over in that direction, and that's kind of where spirits will come. People who have passed will come, or I talk to my guides. While I'm talking to you, I have telepathic communication. I'm asking questions to and fro. I'm receiving answers to and fro. So I'm talking to you, but I'm also processing that stuff, and I might be hearing messages here and having information come in the back of my head. It is extraordinary. It's an extraordinary existence. It really, really is. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I love it. But it does provide all sorts of interesting situations for me as well. So I don't need to be with people for email readings or phone readings. It's the weirdest thing. It's just I used to think I just had a really incredible imagination, but when I see things and when I'm able to describe people's lives for them, and then I know that's not an imagination. I am looking into the windows of someone's soul. I feel really blessed, So just a little, I'd like to just tell you a little story about Elise, who came to see me. I was invited to speak at the Adelaide Expo, Psychic Expo, in May 2 years ago, to do some presentations on the Saturday and the Sunday on the stage. I also did readings at the time, and I was sitting here, and then the person that I was doing a reading for was sitting in front of me, and they had their back to the people that were walking past. Every time I was doing a reading, and I always take notes when I'm doing with the reading, and I'll tell you why I do that in a minute. But as I was doing a reading for a person, and this woman walked past, whose name is now Elise, every time her dad saw her name was George, he'd go, "There she goes, there goes my daughter, why doesn't she come in and see me?" And I'd go, "Where?" "Oh, sorry," I'd have to apologise to the person I was reading for. And anyway, so then I'd, go on, do another reading, and it was an hour later, and she goes, there goes my daughter again. And I'd go, "Where?" And I knew exactly who that woman was. And George, her dad, said to me, "Why doesn't she come in here? She, you can hear her, you can see her. I wish she would come in here." Anyway, later on that day, it was about 4:10, I'll never forget, but Elise came in. I was finishing writing my notes from the person before me, before Elise, and she put her hand on the table, and George, her dad, said, "She's finally come to see you, and she's wearing my ring on her thumb." And I reached over, I lunged over, and I grabbed the ring on her thumb, and I just went, "Oh, that's your dad's ring, that's George's ring." She goes, "How do you know?" And I said, "Because he's been here all day. Every time you walk past, he says, 'Why doesn't she come in here?' Because that I could actually hear your dad." And we sat down and we cried. Like, you've got to remember that every reading for me is the first time it's come through as well, and it was the most special moment. It really, really was. And to be able to have that closure for both George, like, don't forget, it's for those that have passed over as well, that a psychic reading is really quite, or that's a mediumship reading more so, that's really profound for them and really healing for them. So that was I just felt so humbled to be able to do that for Elise. Anyway, the poor people that were standing and walking along, they could see both Elise and I crying, because for me it's the first time I've done a reading for Elise, and this is what happens. Like, I find it profound, so I end up in tears with the person as well, because the emotion and the love that comes through from this person and from the person I'm sitting with is overwhelming, but it's also fantastic. I never ever get tired of doing readings. Some weeks later, I can't remember how long later it was, might have been 8, 9, 10 weeks later, I can't remember, Elise had made an appointment to see me, and I didn't realise it was her, because I do actually see quite a lot of people and I couldn't remember. But anyway, she came to my home at Victor Harbour, and when I invited her inside, her dad said, "Oh, there she is, she's here again, and she's wearing my ring on her thumb." And I reached over and I grabbed her thumb again, and I went, "Oh, it's you from the show." She goes, "Yeah, don't you remember me?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I do now." Anyway, she sat down. I said, "Gee, wasn't that enough of a profound experience and a connection for you?" She said, "It was, and it was beautiful." But she said, "I just came to see if there was anything else." So we tuned in and we talked about a few things, and then her dad was there, and he showed me, and he said, he wanted to introduce me to another lady who was significant in Elisa's life, and I feel that it was Elisa's sister. I can't remember the exact connection now, but I feel like it was Elisa's sister, and her name was Ruby, or was it Pearl? There's Ruby or Pearl. It was one of those two names. I can't remember exactly right now as I'm trying to recall it. And anyway, George said to me, rubies and pearls are like gems, but my daughter rubies and pearls are like gems, like gemstones, but my daughter is my gem. And I told Elise that message, and she started to cry, and she looked at me with these really big eyes, full of tears. She said, Marion, they were the last words my dad ever said to me. Wow, that was so powerful. She said, look out the window, look at the car registration number plate on my car. What did it say? It said Gem. That's what having a mediumship reading is all about, and they are rare. I can't make them happen. If you're blessed to have one of those happen during a reading, then how fantastic for you, your loved one, and me, for all of us to share that experience, because what that does is that gives us faith and trust that there really is more to life than what we can see, feel, hear, touch. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed that story. I was going to tell you something too, which I've now forgotten. But anyway, you can always talk to me anytime about readings. And mediumship readings aren't guaranteed at all. The psychic reading is more, it's about direction in this life for you to make this life count. So if you're struggling, or you want to know what your soul's purpose is, or you just want to have a chat on a spiritual level, that's my job. I work as a spiritual teacher as well. I hope I've been able to give you some insight. There's lots of testimonials on my website, Psychic Like No Other, that you're welcome to read. Okay, have a lovely day.